would never actually do this, like ever. But I think it's really important for people to see how words actually affect people, because it's really fucked up.
Sydney Sweeney just dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves straight through Ryan Reynolds' golden boy image. She wasn't even trying to start drama, she didn't have to. Someone else started talking, and she just happened to be close enough to hear it. That single moment changed everything. Within 24 hours, 3 film offers vanished. Blacklisted. Silenced. But instead of crawling away, Sydney's done playing nice. Her revenge? It's not loud. It's not messy. It's cold, calculated, and poetic in a way that Hollywood won't forget anytime soon. Here's where it all started to unravel. April 15, 2025. Sydney Sweeney boards her flight home to New York, riding high from what should have been the biggest weekend of her career. The Glass Chapel panel in Paris was a full-blown win, critics praising her range, Netflix execs gushing over her performance, and Ryan Reynolds basking in the glow like he finally made something worth more than a punchline. Everything felt locked in until the descent began. And not from 30,000 feet.
Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney broke down in tears on an emotional live.
The fallout didn't come with headlines or drama. It arrived in silence. When she landed, there were no congratulatory calls. No press emails. Just static. A quiet shift she could feel but couldn't place. Until she replayed the moment that changed it all, that flight. 2 rows ahead of her, Ryan Reynolds was on the phone. Loud. Careless. Unfiltered. And in that single, tone-deaf call, he blew up the image he'd spent a decade building. "I was never her husband," he said flatly. "I was the brand. The beard. It was a contract." And with that, the entire Reynolds' lively fantasy, America's Pinterest perfect couple, shattered like glass in Coach.
Changes overnight.
Not just switchery. No one had this on their 2025 bingo card. But when it happened, Sydney didn't flinch. She didn't roll her eyes or even shift in her seat. But someone else did. Maybe a nosy exec. Maybe an assistant with more curiosity than discretion. Someone connected the dots, and because Sydney was seated within earshot of that now infamous flight conversation, she instantly became the threat. Not because she said anything, but because she could have. And in Hollywood, the mere potential of exposure is often more lethal than the exposure itself. Overnight, she became too risky. Too close to something ugly. Projects that had already been greenlit went under review. Directors stopped responding. Her agent, once fielding offers, was now getting ghosted by half the industry. The official story? There wasn't one. There never is. That's the insidious brilliance of Hollywood blacklisting. You don't need receipts to be erased. You just stop showing up, and Reynolds? Please. He kept posting cheeky Instagram stories, pretending everything was fine. Publicly, he was still happily married, still Marvel's golden boy. Privately, though, the walls were closing in. Marvel, which apparently monitors their talent like it's the Pentagon, had already flagged him as a liability. Not for cheating. Not for substances. For domestic instability. But instead of fixing the core issue, him, they cut the one person who knew too much. Sydney wasn't leaking. She wasn't scheming. She just existed too close to the truth. And that made her expendable. By April 17th, the blackout wasn't looming, it had already detonated. Sydney hadn't posted a single thing. No denial, no Instagram stories, not even a passive-aggressive like. But in Hollywood, silence is dangerous. And in her case, it was treated like a smoking gun. Behind the scenes, casting directors slapped her name with the high discretion risk label, industry code 4, "We don't have proof, but we're too scared to wait for it." You'll never see that phrase in an email. It doesn't get printed. It lives in whispers, in deleted texts, in nods exchanged during power lunches. The first hit came with fake politeness, because Hollywood always starts with manners before exile. A Netflix legal thriller, already halfway cast with Sydney in the lead, vanished overnight. No press statement. No scandal. Her name was simply replaced with someone deemed lower risk, aka someone who hadn't been on that flight. The explanation to her agent? Creative shift. Translation: she overheard something no one wants to admit happened, then came Dior. They'd already shot half a campaign. Sydney in full couture, lighting dialed, post-production in motion. But they didn't cancel, because that would require accountability. They restructured. In fashion PR, that means erase her. A Dior staffer leaked a Slack message that made it crystal clear: we're being asked to pull her visibility. Brand neutrality. No press release. No scandal. No explanation. Just vapor. And that became the strategy: bury her. Not loudly. That might trigger questions. No, quietly, surgically, without a sound SO. When Glass Chapel's New York premiere rolled around on April 19th, a night meant for both leads, only one name made it to the carpet. Sydney had her dress. Her makeup team flew in. Her stylist cleared her entire afternoon. The studio car pulled up as scheduled. But what she got wasn't a press pass, it was a guest wristband. No interviews. No red carpet. No photos. Just an invitation to sneak in the side door, smile from the shadows, and disappear. Her team tried to fix it. The studio blamed logistics. Claimed Ryan's arrival time had shifted. Said press was being streamlined. But not a single sentence mentioned Sydney's name. So, she made the only move she could: she didn't show up. The dress stayed zipped. The makeup went unused. Her stylist stood at the venue like a ghosted date, while Ryan Reynolds strutted solo in custom Armani. Every press photo was just him. Every headline featured just him. Sydney, the actual female lead of the film, was edited out of the narrative like she'd never existed. And fans? They noticed. Twitter exploded. Why isn't Sydney at the premiere? Isn't she the lead? Where the hell is she? One tweet alone pulled 90,000 likes in a matter of hours. This wasn't a scheduling conflict. This was a surgical erasure. Promo materials from just a week earlier had her front and center, arm in arm with Ryan, headlining every teaser. Now, not even a mention in the captions. Even her own team was blindsided. No warning. No heads up. Just gone. A leaked guest list confirmed the worst: she hadn't been forgotten. She'd been removed. Then came the TikToks. An assistant from her glam team posted and deleted a story: imagine sculpting the perfect metallic look for 4 hours, only for the lead actress to be ghosted by her own movie. A PR junior lasted 10 minutes before her post got pulled, after allegedly quoting a producer whispering, "We don't need Blake's enemies on this couch." No names were tagged. No direct callouts. But everyone knew exactly who they meant, and Sydney? Still silent. The only person cut from the premiere of a film she co-led for 8 months, all because she heard a single conversation someone powerful never wanted repeated. On April 20th, Blake Lively posted a pristine, high-resolution image to Instagram.
Is this happening?
Ryan Reynolds stood under the lights at the Glass Chapel premiere, flashing that signature smirk in a razor-sharp suit. But this time, he wasn't standing alone. Next to him in the photo? Blake Lively, a flawless, styled, glowing like Hollywood royalty. The image was pristine. There was just one problem: she was never there. The photo had been edited with surgical precision, but metadata revealed the truth: it was taken weeks earlier at a shoot in Los Angeles, nowhere near New York. Still, no one questioned it. Within minutes, the image was everywhere. People, ET. Online, Daily Mail, Page 6, Hello, Just Jared, 6 outlets ran it within 4 hours. And the headlines? Blatant. Blake supports Ryan on premiere night, Hollywood's power couple reunites, Lively returns to spotlight with Reynolds. Not a single mention of Sydney Sweeney. Not in the captions, not in the body text, not in the tags. Her name had already been scrubbed from the narrative. And the story? It was shifting fast. What had started as an awkward absence was now being sold as a personal choice. The press didn't say Sydney was cut. They said she stepped back for emotional clarity. Privately, the studio denied any involvement in the photo's release, but someone on the inside cracked. A storyboard from the premiere press kit leaked, showing Blake's team had submitted the image themselves, as if it were legitimate event coverage. A Netflix marketing assistant confirmed it 2 days later, forwarding a memo from a freelance publicist. The subject line was brutal: she wasn't reduced. She was deleted. Attached was a casting log update. One line stood out: Sydney Sweeney, status, unresolved discretion risk. Instability confirmed via non-engagement pattern. On April 23, Sydney joined a video call. Present, her agent, a Netflix legal advisor, a studio PR manager, and a rep from Blake Lively's publicity firm. No greetings. No small talk. Just cold, corporate strategy. The offer? A financial settlement tied to a creative contribution clause. The condition? A signature. One NDA. 18 months. No interviews, no statements, no reference to the flight, the premiere, or Blake Lively. Sydney said nothing for nearly a minute. Then she asked, flatly, "Did Blake send this?" The PR rep smiled, just enough to answer without saying a word. No one else spoke. Sydney didn't fight. She didn't argue.